Hey, Chris, what's up?
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, buddy. All right, man. Drill me, kid. Let's go.
The first thing I can ask is just how you got into SAG when you started.
How did I get into SAG? I got into SAG. I had a dear friend who was directing a movie. His name was Richard Martini, and he was directing a movie that he had written called You Can't Hurry Love. And it was actually the film that introduced Bridget Fonda,
Hmm.
Jane's daughter, to acting. She did a lot of things after that, but that was the big claim to fame of this movie. And I got to play a drug dealer. And I looked like I was like the zigzag man. I had like a little beard and mustache. And I sell drugs to Christy McNichol in the movie. I asked her, care to partake? And that was my big scene. And
Oh,
that's
that's
how I
cool.
got into SAG. Came to Los Angeles in 1981 from San Diego, where I was already working in voiceover. I
Right.
was an announcer at SeaWorld.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah. 1988 film. So I guess it was probably filmed in 87. Writer and director Richard Martini, my dear buddy. What a great guy. And his significant other was this really cool lady who was in all the beach blanket bingo movies. Her name was Luana Anders, and she was also in the famous The Pit and the Pendulum. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
she was quite an actress. She was fantastic. She was the sweetest lady you've ever known. And then I started working at Universal Studios. That's actually where I met Richard Epcar.
Yep.
We Universal Studios. I was not a tour guide. I was a show announcer because I had that background from San Diego State. But it was so politically hot to hire me out of the, outside the talent pool that they there was so much pressure from all the tour guides who had wanted my job that I was basically I didn't do anything wrong, but they let me go after about 4 months because it was just a lot of pressure because there are a lot of people that had been there being a tour guide, making I think at that time it was probably like 15, maybe $18 an hour and working really hard. And then I auditioned and got the role as a show announcer, and that paid like a lot more. So they were all like, why'd you pick somebody from the outside? I've been here for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, so I would go and I would hang out in my off time in Castle Dracula,
Yep.
which is where I know you probably know all this story already, but Richard played Count Dracula, and then we had Dan Warren, who's also a great voice actor, played Count Dracula, and God, there are a lot of guys that were in there. There was Joey Dioria played one of the Renfields, Michael McConaughey played one of the Renfields, Jake Seinfeld, who did Body by Jake, played the Hulk, and Kevin Westmore, who is from the very famous makeup family, the Westmores, Wally Westmore. He
Hmm.
was a makeup artist in there. So it was a really cool spot. And I got to meet a lot of people, including Richard and his wife, Ellen. So that was great. We have had a long and wonderful friendship.
Hmm.
He wants to bring up things at golf courses that happen because of intestinal distress.
Oh,
That's all I'm going to say. You know what? Bad sushi can really hurt you. Let's just put it that way.
okay.
It can really hurt you. Have you ever had bad sushi?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like gas station sushi. Oh boy. They say that. I don't think there really is such a thing. I hope to God there is.
So what was the timeline of because I'm not sure what the if it's accurate that your first voice role was in one of the Smurf series.
That was in 1986, and I actually got what would you say, miscredited on that. I actually they
Okay.
had me as another Smurf, but I actually did Papa Smurf, which they didn't credit me for, and that was too bad because that was a really fun gig. It was for an outfit called the Atlantic Releasing Company. They came up with this brilliant idea. I don't really think it had been done before that, but they decided, all these kids are off on Thanksgiving, so let's go ahead and put together a movie, and they secured the movie, even though the television show was already, I'm not sure it was already going. I think it was already going at the time because there was obviously some popularity involved in it. But the guy who created the Smurfs was a guy named Peo, and he had hung on to this movie, and so they decided they were going to do it on the cheap, and they basically, from what I understand, including securing it and doing all the voices because we did it non-union. They did it for about $300,000. They put it into the theaters, and it made like 3 million. So they were like, "Wow, this is a great thing." So it was still fun to be involved in it, but I never got credited correctly on that. They credited Mike Reynolds as being Papa Smurf. He was in it, but he was not Papa Smurf.
Okay.
So now you know as much as I do.
Well, what about, did you start with anime then?
I started, really, I was doing basically like voiceover as a kid. When I was in second grade, I used to imitate the school principal, and my teacher heard me doing it in class, and she said, "I need you to stay after." I'm like, "Oh crap, I'm in deep stuff. This is no, I'm in trouble." And she goes, "That's really good how you can do the principal. Would you want to do it on the intercom for our announcements in the morning for the entire school?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that's how it all started. So I did the announcements as the principal, and then, of course, being a creative lad at that time, Walter Concrete was very popular. So I threw in a little Walter. I'm sorry, Walter Cronkite,
Okay.
but I call him Walter Concrete. I did a little bit about him. Then I came back to class. Everybody was like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "Well, that was me on the intercom." They're like, "What?" It's like having recognition, being praised for something you do. It's kind of like chocolate cake. At first, you may not like it, but after a while, it starts to taste pretty good. So that was it. I started in second grade, and then I was doing performing and theater throughout, junior high school, doing plays. Went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for a year. When I was 17, I just graduated high school. And then I went to San Diego State. Then I went to Riverside City College for a while, then San Diego State. And that's where I got my job as working for SeaWorld. And I instituted a radio program at our school, at our high school, when we did our school mascot was the Viking. So we did Viking radio. It was me and one other guy who went on to be a DJ down in Florida. And that was cool. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, about it.
Did you take the dubbing easier, or was it difficult for you to get used to?
Not at all. I think that dubbing is kind of like music.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather was a great musician. He was a Greek guy who never really got a formal education past about the 4th or 5th grade. But you could hand him anything with strings, and he could not have played that instrument ever, and he could figure it out in about 20 minutes, whatever the instrument was. And he was like a consummate musician. And so I kept trying as a kid to try to play music and to try different instruments. I just really didn't have the discipline to do it. I kept thinking, God, I don't have any of his musical talent because it's not easy for me. I thought it'd be so easy. And then I got in a class in college. We're doing an improvisation class. And actually, I also did speech in high school as well. I went to the California State Finals I think it was in dramatic intern. I don't think I went to humorous intern. But anyway, so we got in this class and I said, okay, we're going to pretend like we're going to make up a song. And this person's going to play the piano to a song that we all knew, the melody that we all knew, and you're going to make up words about it, and and here's your subject, it's farming or whatever it was. I don't even remember what it was, but I just went ba-da-ba-da-ba-dee, ba-da-ba-da-ba-doo, ba-da-da-dee-da-do-do-do. And when I got done, the instructor, everybody in the class was like looking at me like, what the heck's going on? And the instructor said, Michael, did someone else in one of the other classes tell you what song we were going to be using? I'm like, no. And then some of the other students are like, well, did you memorize that? Is that something you've done before? You know, did you? And I said, no. And that's when it hit me that I did have that gift. I did have that musical gift, but it was in an improvisational singing manner. I wish you would have given me a better voice, but so then I realized, oh, so I do have that. And then I started doing, at the same time, I started doing improv down there in San Diego, and I got to work with some really great people, including Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, wow.
And then I used to do stand-up while I was down there. I was just starting to do stand-up. And they had a contest for San Diego, for everyone in San Diego's. There's a thing called Our Magazine. It was with Marianne Mobley and Gary Collins would host it. And they had this contest as to who was going to be the best stand-up in San Diego. And the winner for the first prize was getting to go to New York and appear on the show Fridays, which was another show that Lorne Michaels created after he created Saturday Night Live. So it was a really big deal. So I came up with a bit because of my voiceover stuff. My bit was, you only had 3 minutes. That was the idea, is you only had 3 minutes. So I came up with a bit I created where it was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island on LSD. And so I did 20 different character voices in 3 minutes.
Oh.
And they're all like character voices people knew. Like I did Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I did the skipper. I did Mr. Howell. I did a bunch of different voices. And literally when I got done, they stopped the show. It was like everybody stood up. I got a standing ovation, and they said, okay, we better take a little break here. We'll come back in the second half. And Whoopi was on in the second half. And she did like some very, I don't want to say low energy, but I mean, it was very pulled back, and she wasn't doing any voice. She just like sitting on a stool and talking, you know. And so then they said, okay, we have all the scores in from our judges who are local people and they're local celebrities and local radio people. Well, they didn't know me. I was just like a kid from San Diego State. I hadn't really been out in the community. Mm-hmm. And Whoopi had done a lot of great things for the community. She used to actually, as community outreach, she would teach homeless people improv. So she was really well known in the community. She was very respected in the community. So I said, okay, we got our 2 finalists. It's down to Michael and Whoopi. And so we get up there on stage and they're going to make the big announcement. And I just thought for sure, oh, I got this, man. I so nailed it. I could, I'm not the kind of guy to ever have like a false sense of reality about my performances. I'm very realistic and actually pretty critical of my performances. But that night I hit the home run. I hit the grand slam. And so they said, and now, we're going to announce the winner. The winner is Whoopi Goldberg. And I was like, what? I said out loud, I was like, what? You got to be kidding. This is bullshit. Give them the people's choice. And I'm up there yelling and stuff while they're trying to hand her the award. I did not take it very well at all. So years later, I apologized. And she goes, it's all right, Mike. I knew you were just disappointed. So she got to go to New York and do all that. And while she was there with all the talent she had, she developed an off-Broadway show with all of her characters. And then when she came back out here, which was several years later, I was performing at the Comedy Store. I was with the Comedy Store Players. So I got to do improv with Robin Williams, Rick Overton, Jan Hooks, Brian Bradley, just to name a few of the people. And so we were like the in-house group. So we would open up before big people, we would do we'd be the warm-up act for people like Eddie Murphy and at that time I also befriended this guy who was, we were doing improv together, and he said, hey, Mike, you think I could do stand-up, buddy? I said, yeah, Sam, you'd be really good at it. And that was Sam Kinison.
Oh.
And so Sam, what would happen is we'd go on from 9 to 10 on Monday nights. Then they bring on like a major headliner, like I said, like Eddie Murphy, somebody really big, Argus Hamilton at that time. Not David Letterman because they'd already gone on strike. But and then they would bring on Sam for like a half hour because it was late, and he started developing his act, and pretty soon he went from like 15 minutes to a half hour to 45 minutes to a full hour by the time he was done. And he was an incredible stand-up. He was hilarious as could be. So I knew him before he really hit it big, before he was even doing stand-up. But he was a great guy. He had a lot of energy. He was really a good guy. And it was really kind of sad that just when he was getting his life together, he died. He died in a car accident driving out to a gig in Laughlin. He got hit by some kid in a Pathfinder head on, and he lived for a while. And then I'm sorry to say he passed. He was a good guy. All right, next good question. What you got?
I was I suppose after Robotech, do you remember what your first your next major role would have been in something?
Well, that's a good question. Oh, I guess it would have to be the Power Ranger thing, wouldn't it? I guess it would be. Yeah, I was all over Power Rangers from day one. I was actually there when they first made the first presentation of it to Chaim. And everybody was kind of saying, like, what the heck is this? And I said, oh, this is going to be great. Everybody was looking at me and they were saying, why? Why do you think it's going to be great? I go, because these kids of today, they didn't grow up with Godzilla. So the whole idea of seeing a monster smashing through buildings, and I thought that, that's a very visceral experience. And I said, they're going to love this. And, what with martial arts and Kung Fu and stuff, which had happened before that, and Bruce Lee and all, I said, oh, they're going to love this. And, I was right. And I actually would do the directing of the original cast back in the day. We just lost our post-production supervisor. I don't know if Richard mentioned that, but this guy was a really great guy. His name was Scott Page Pactor.
Oh, right.
He just died in the last 2 weeks or so. It's really been a crushing experience for me. He was such a good guy. He was one of my best friends. We'd go and drink wine together, and we'd go camping together, and he really gave me a lot of opportunities to develop my craft. And I was cast as Squat, who is Princess Rita's minion for I think several seasons of it. And then he would also allow me to do other monsters, and some of those monsters are pretty well known by the Power Rangers people. I was the Krabby Cabbie, I was the Pumpkin Rapper, I was the Terrible Toad that ate all the Power Rangers. And then there were other shows that they also developed at that time up there for Saban. And that studio was up in Valencia. It was called Magic Mountain Studio, although it had nothing to do with Magic Mountain. And, so we'd drive up there to Valencia. We'd do that. And there were other shows like, Masked Rider, VR Troopers, Big Bad Beetleborgs. I think that was pretty much it. I worked on all of those, of course, and I directed some of those for a while and did voices on some of those for a while. And I was actually on camera on VR Troopers as Woody. I don't know if you know about that, but that was a pretty cool show.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet a lot more talented people again. I got to meet Brad and Michael Bacon and Caitlin Brown. Went on to be quite a soap star. And so it was a fun experience. I don't know what my next big one would be. I think it was probably that. It would have to be Power Rangers because it was, at the time, it was the most popular children's show in the world, not just in the United States, but I mean everywhere, in every country. It was the most popular children's show at that time. So that was pretty cool to be involved in a project that had that much impact, shall we say. I'm not saying it was a positive impact. You had little kids kicking the shit out of their brothers and sisters because they were doing the Kung Fu, but get them all riled up. It was like caffeine for kids to watch the show. It had all that great rock music, and it moved fast, and big monsters, lots of aggro entertainment. And then I also did I still haven't figured out which character I played in this. I don't know if I did incidentals, but I actually worked on Princess Mononoke on the English dub
That's right. Yeah.
way back in the day, and then I was also on Final Fantasy 3. Go that far back. Mononoke. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that was fun. I've always liked anime. Even when I was a kid, I'd watch cartoons. I lived in Turkey when I was very young. I didn't have TV till I was about 4 or 5 years old. And boy, as soon as I saw that and I saw cartoons, I was like, wow, this is it. That is so cool. I want to be part of that. So I was very lucky. I got to live out my dream. But I love those movies. I just went to the Academy out here has a museum now, the Museum of Television Arts and Television Motion Picture Arts. And they have a whole, you'd go crazy. The whole upper floor is Miyazaki.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool to see it. I had the privilege of going to Japan a couple of times. I went to Japan to do an on-camera commercial. And as a result of that, I thought, oh, well, I'll be in Japan. This is great. I'll go to Miyazaki's museum, right? So I get there and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. So where do I get tickets? And they're like, oh, you want to go see Miyazaki's museum? You can't, as a foreigner, buy tickets in country, here. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you have to buy them before you leave the United States.
Oh.
I was like, what? I was like, you got to be kidding me. Come on. I go, can't I just pay more and go? No, it's not the way we do it. I was like, wow. So the next time I went back, I figured that out. And I went to Minato and saw it. And it was really cool. It's something that if you're an anime fan, you got to do that. But I give everybody the tip. Book your ticket before you leave the United States, because you're going to get there and you ain't going to be able to get in. You'll be pissed off. I'm here. I can't go. It's too much. It's crazy. Yeah, I was over there doing, actually, it was really cool. I was over there recently when I got to go recently. I was doing, it was actually before COVID, and it was a big thing about, it was a whole series about the Tokyo, the Olympics, and how Japanese people have been involved with the Olympics and some of the outstanding athletes they've had through the years in the Olympics, going all the way back. And I did an on-camera role. It was really cool. So I played Avery Brundage, who actually was from Wisconsin. And he was like a big political mover and shaker. He was actually president of the US Olympic Committee for quite a few years in the late 50s, early 60s. And he was instrumental in securing the Summer Olympics for Tokyo in 1960. So there you go. It was really fun. So I was over there, I did on camera, and I had to speak Japanese. I had to memorize a whole speech in Japanese. Yikes. That was kind of tough, but it was sure. Yeah. And being there is just awesome. You got to go. If you can, you got to go.
Well, I think it was just small stuff too, but I mean, you got to be part in some more darker early series, or well, I think they're just OVAs like Lily Cat and Black Magic and Midnight Eye Goku.
I remember the second one. I don't remember the first one. There's so much stuff that I've done, honest to God, where I just show up and do it. I wouldn't write it down. I didn't know what I was doing. I just go in there and do it. We were just all hungry for work. That's, people, they look back and they go, oh my God, look at all you've done. And oh, you're such a, I don't say I'm a star, because I don't think of myself as a star, but I mean, you're, oh, look at all you've done. And I'm like, dude, I was just trying to make a paycheck, I never thought of it as like, oh, this great career I'm building. I was just, motivated to work. I had, a wife and kids, and I just wanted to keep working. And I really feel very blessed and very grateful that I really didn't have to do too much else other than being a voice actor or director or adapter. I did all that stuff as well. I was directing all the way back in the day for Saban as well. I directed Eagle Riders, Gotcha Man, way back in the day. That was a great cast. I had Bryan Cranston, I had Pauly Schreier, I had Tiffany Christun, who is an excellent voice actress. Who else was that? We had a lot of people in that one, but that was really cool. That was a fun one, and that was old anime. That was like, I think Gotcha Man's like, I want to say it's not as old as Kim of the White Lion, but
Right.
I'm gonna say it's like, boy, I think it's late 70s. I'm gonna check that for you right now.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, if not, it was like 81 then. I'm talking about 1978, they're saying.
Mhm.
Was a movie. I don't remember doing the movie, but I do remember doing it. I did a lot of directing for Saban. They were really good about giving people opportunities to do stuff. You know, they didn't want to pay you a huge amounts, but you did get opportunities to do stuff, and they always paid on time, which is a big thing in our business. You know, there's some producers, well, yeah, I'm going to pay you, and then sometimes it's as big a job chasing down the money as it is doing the job. Sometimes more of it, more arduous.
Mhm.
So they were really good about that. Chaim was always good about that. And he became a billionaire. I helped him become a billionaire. We all did. So that was pretty cool to know someone that you. And at that time, being a billionaire was a big deal. It wasn't like, you know, it was before Bezos and before Elon Musk. It was, you know, $1 billion was a lot of money.
Mhm.
Now it's chump change, I guess.
And Kenshin is actually probably my single favorite anime, so I didn't want to ask how you first became involved with directing the first dub.
Well, the first dub of that, it was Rurouni Kenshin, and I was directing it at literally in a basement, in like a bunker. There's a facility that's now called Point 360. It used to be called All Post. And I directed that there. I directed Cyborg 009. I directed a lot of movies into English. I want to say I directed, I think it's called True Romance. Not the American one, there's a French one like that. And I think that's also where I directed Ju-on, you know, The Grudge into English.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool. And so we'd be downstairs there, and, you know, I kind of got to pick it was really funny because at that time it was not a big show. I kind of got to pick my cast. So I got Rebecca Olkowski as Kaori. Kaori? Is that the character?
Kaoru.
Kaoru. And then I got Richard, not Richard Epcar. Richard played a part, but Richard Cancino, yeah, as Kenshi. And he was great in the role. And, you know, I really didn't realize what a big deal it was, you know? And they had this young executive that would show up occasionally. And he was like 12 years old, man. This guy was really young. He was driving like a Porsche. And I'm like, who is this guy? And he knew nothing about what we were doing. He knew nothing. And he was in charge. And I'm like, okay. And I go, so this thing doesn't ever see the light of day, right? And he goes, oh, yes. Well, you know, I work for Sony, so yes, eventually it will. And I didn't realize that he was really being, because he just didn't sound like he knew what he was doing. So I made kind of I don't know, how would you say? I guess it wasn't really a faux pas, and I wasn't trying to insult anyone, but I would, I made all the cops in this, you know, deep, wonderful historical saga.
Have Irish accents.
Yes, right. I did that. I thought, you know, what the hell? No one's ever going to see this. It's not a big deal. And then, of course, years later, they redubbed it. So it was so funny. So at that time, I just really had no, I had no idea that the width and the breadth of people that understood this and enjoyed it and were really taking it a lot more seriously than I obviously did. But it was that was really a fun show to do, and so was 009. Cyborg 009. I got to work with a lot of great people because, you know, they each had to do, you know, one of the agents, and one of them was Bob Klein would play the baby, Robert Klein. And we had a situation where back in those days, you know, they were just getting to the point where there were computers involved. And we had a computer crash, and this guy had to rebuild a session. And all weekend this guy had worked to rebuild these 2 episodes. And he goes, there's only one person I couldn't get in sync, which was the baby. And what happened was Robert Klein would do this thing where he would set his voice before the line by saying the word right. So he'd go, right. You know, whatever the line was, right. So this guy was trying to sync it up with the right as part of the sentence. And we had to explain to him, no, we don't use the rights. So that was interesting. And then Bo Billingsley was in it. And God, we had lots of great people in that one as well. That was a fun one. And it seems like everything I've done, they've redubbed again. like that one they redubbed. Samurai they redubbed. Just recently we did this really great dubbing job on a Netflix thing from Spain called, it was originally called Casa de Papel, House of Paper. And it's a story of this, it's a live action. And it's like, I think it was like, I want to say 15 hours or 12 hours. It was this story of these guys going in and robbing a bank and they get stuck in there and, you know, all the little things that happen. This girl, one of the people they took, hostage is pregnant and stuff. I got to play this really great character. I was so happy with, you know, it was really a great opportunity for me to play a character I wouldn't normally play. And I did a really good job, I thought. And then a year later, they dubbed it again completely. It was like me and Jameson Price had these great roles, and all of a sudden we were out. So that happens a lot. You know, it's kind of interesting. Kind of reminds me of Egypt with the pyramids, you know? The latest pharaoh just comes in and just lays another layer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything before that is considered, oh, did that happen? Oh, you didn't know.
Well, when I talked to Melody Spivak, she said that she was, I'm not sure if it was for the first dub or the second dub, but she said that she was briefly being considered as playing Kenshin.
Was she?
Since Kenshin's voiced by a woman in Japanese too, so.
Oh, I didn't know about that. That I did not know.
Okay.
I know she was Bertramon for me in Digimon, right. And I also know that I cast her as Torpedo Girl.
Yeah.
And that was great. She was so good. Melody always brings an unbelievable amount of wonderful energy to everything she does. She is just like, in Irish, they have well, it's not literally Irish, but in Ireland, you know, they talk about people as a designation of someone who's really fun and, you know, really like the life of the party, as you call him, a corker.
Mm-hmm.
He's like uncorking a bottle. Oh, she's a real corker. And Melody is definitely a corker. She's so nice. And I miss her. Where is she living now?
Her and Michael, I think they live in Georgia.
That sounds right. I know they'd moved over there where it's cheaper to live, let's face it. What's the problem with living in California?
Yeah.
We're burning money every day, buddy. Every day you're burning money, so you better make a lot because you're going to burn it. The way it goes. It's kind of crazy. So I would say stay there, keep eating walleye, and if you have any extras, send them over here because I love the walleye. I know the ways of the walleye. I know the Lindy jig, Al Linder. Yes, I know. I do. I really do. For years and years, I would come up there and do opening season with my brother. A lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
We'd go up to Lake of the Woods out north of Baudette, if you know where that is. Up there into like Kenora, the Canadian side of Lake of the Woods. Beautiful up there. Gorgeous.
I actually have it's an animation cell from one of the opening themes.
Wow, yeah, that's the real deal. How the hell did you get that?
I've been in the hobby for a long time, and I think the original owner like got it from somebody who worked with the studio. So
that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny you would mention that because, you know, originally when I started looking at stuff, because obviously I was into anime, I was like, oh yeah, I should buy cells. Cells are the things to buy. And I was such an idiot because at that time, I swear to God, you could still get original drawings from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I don't mean just like one character. You get like scenes and stuff for like, you know, $500, $1,000 original drawings. And those are worth so much more.
Right.
But we all thought, the flashiness of the cells is what we all liked. I have a few cells, but not much. I have a Jack Turtleson cell.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the first things that I did over there. I did it for Saban when Saban first opened up, before they were a big company. They were on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, right where it would dead end into Colfax there. And that's where I met Scott Page Packer. He was originally an engineer, and then he got elevated to director, and then he became post-production supervisor. That's what I mean. If you did a good job there, you'd get a lot of opportunities for Chaim. He was very good about giving people opportunities. And so we were recording there was an early anime thing called Oxtails. And the characters were Bully, that was a bull in, I want to say red colored overalls. And I was Jack Turtleson, his sidekick. And there's one particular episode where we're protecting a potted flower. It's a single flower in a pot. And we're protecting it from the wind, and we're protecting it from trees falling on and all. And all of a sudden we fall off this cliff. And the scene literally was 20 seconds of falling. It was like, cut to, So I was doing it, and I knew I'd come up short on one. And so I said, the flower, Ollie. And Scott recorded that. And for years and years, he would play it for me every time I come in the studio to remind me. And the worst part was that it actually got through to a final mix. Everybody thought it was so funny they would leave that track up, right? It got to final mix, and Chaim's in there. He listens to it, and goes, "What the hell is that?" So we all got in trouble for that. But it never made it to air, thank God. But I mean, it was just, we were having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun.
And what was I know it was not very long ago too, but what was your thoughts on stepping into being a part of Sailor Moon?
Oh, you know what? That was always fun, and that was an old anime as well. And the thing is, what's hard about that anime nowadays is you're trying to write the stories, right, for Sailor Moon Crystal.
Yeah.
And the problem is that, boy, there are some archaic ideas compared to where we're at. We've advanced a lot since then in terms of how we think about, the whole dynamic of men and women. And, Japan was always kind of a man's world. So, it's like a tuxedo guy. Yeah, he wouldn't fly today, would he? Yeah, he wouldn't fly today. But it was great. I got to play, the dirty old man. I played Grandpa Hino on that and got to direct it as well. I don't know if I ever got credit for directing it, but I directed it for about a season and a half. I was also writing scripts as well. And I don't really credit myself on it. And then there were several Grandpa Hinos, but I was one of them. There were actually 3 people that voiced it over. And now I'm sure someone else is voicing it because they haven't called me in years.
Oh, okay.
It's just like Monster. What do they call that show? The one that Mattel does. I did that for years and years and never got credited because they kept signing NDAs that said that I couldn't promote that I was Draculaura's dad. I was Dracula on that. Oh, Monster High.
Oh, right.
Monster High, which they made all the dolls out of. I was Draculaura. What is the matter? So that was a lot of fun, but I never got to promote it because they were really tight on don't. It's like I'm on a show right now that I have an NDA with, and I'd like to tell you about it, but I really can't say anything until it comes out, I guess. It's a Netflix show, and it's actually out on Netflix undubbed, but we're in the process of dubbing it as I speak. And we're actually, January 3rd, I'll be starting up on that again. We'll finish the first 12 episodes and see what happens. But, just because you're the director on the first bunch doesn't mean you're going to get to direct it on the second bunch or, like I said, sometimes it changes studios. Sometimes, it's a matter of availability. But it's
Hmm.
like, I directed God of High School, and I'd really like to go back and direct that again because I love working with Robbie Damon and Sean Chip. Like a lot of really good people on that one. And so I'd like to go back and direct that. And I'd like to go back and direct For Your Eternity, which, was voted #1 on the Crunchyroll platform. And they said, oh, is it okay if we, Crunchyroll actually sent me a letter. Would it be okay if we said that you directed it? I was like, duh, of course. What? I mean, it's like, why would I not want to be credited for doing great work?
Hmm.
So I don't understand how some things, some of the ways that people work, it's kind of weird. So many people think, well, I have a microphone, I have a computer, and I can audition for stuff, so I'm going to be a voice actor. That's not necessarily the case.
Right.
It's, I think whenever I hear of people that want to do that, I say, well, and even today I work with people, obviously I still direct a lot. That's really what I'm doing mostly. I work with guys, say, so, I'll ask them, I'll say, so what is your theater training? Oh, I don't have any theater training. I'm a voiceover person. Well, if you don't have theater training, believe me, it's really tough to do.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, when you're in college, you get that, and I'm sure you got this where you were, you get that vocal production stuff, that's really important, is knowing how to create voice correctly so you don't hurt yourself. And then you also study things like, articulation, good warm-ups for whatever the heck you're going to do. It's quite the deal.
Hmm.
And it took me years and years to do it. And I think people think that you're just going to jump into it. Yeah, well, some of them have voices where it naturally works for them, or they're in that niche where they do something like kid voices, or they're young ladies and stuff. And they'll last for a while, but if you don't really dedicate yourself to developing your craft, then you're not going to last. You might get 1 or 2 projects, and then the other thing is, if you're an asshole,
Yeah.
because that word gets around. It's a bigger community than it once was, but word gets around. If you're not nice, it's you're not going to last, because why would anyone be around someone that's a pain in the ass, or a diva, or shows up late, or shows up on drugs or something, when there's so many other people that are willing to do it and happy to show up and give it their full attention. I actually am going to be teaching a class here. I don't teach much class because I don't have any class. Oh no, but but I actually am going to be teaching a class this in about 2 weeks or so here in Los Angeles. I don't know if you know, I also had an on-camera career. I don't know if you know about that, because I used to do Fidel Castro.
Oh,
And
yeah. First, yeah.
I did him in a lot of shows. I did him on Seinfeld. I did him on Married with Children. I did him twice at The Tonight Show, 7 Days, The Ellen Gonzalez Story, and Sybil Shepherd's Show, or a couple more times I did. But anyway, so that gives you a little more background about my background.
Well, I actually love Married with Children, so I'm sure I saw you in that and just didn't realize it.
I'll tell you which one it is. It's called Requiem for a Chevyweight. It's in season 10, I believe, part 1.
Okay, I'll have to go back on that.
Al Bundy's Dodge breaks down, and so they decide, how are they going to get a gas pump or a fuel pump for it? Well, they're going to have to go to Cuba, where they have those old cars. So he sends Jefferson down there to get it, and I have 2 very nice scenes with Ted McGinley, very nice guy.
Mm.
Yeah.
This was a voice thing I hadn't ever seen you talk about. Do you remember being in Unico as Melvin the Magnificat?
Boy, I remember the name Unico, but how long ago was that?
That was really early. That was like early 90s.
Okay, that's the same time when we were doing Robotech, right?
But it wasn't that. I think that was dubbed in the like mid to late 80s.
Yeah, I think you're right. We were doing that in the 80s. Well, I don't know about that one.
Okay.
I don't remember the character. Maybe if I, but I remember the name Unico, so obviously I was writing it down and doing some gigs on it because I'm known for being a really good screamer. I can do the screaming pretty darn good. I'm now to the point where obviously my vocal cords aren't as flexible as they once were, and they're not as young as they once were. So I can really only yell for about 2 hours now.
Okay.
In the old days, I could yell all day. I could yell all day long. I'd feel it, at the end of the day, I'd be like, yeah, okay. You're gonna, if you're really yelling, you're gonna feel it. There's no way you're not gonna feel it, or it's not gonna affect your vocal apparatus, your voice box. But anyway, so I wanted to do Kill Bill Part 1. And so they have 7 of us there, 7 guys. And they bring us all in and they show us the scene of Uma Thurman fighting those 80 guys. I don't know if you ever seen the movie.
Yeah.
So okay, they said, okay, we'll take your first 3. Mike, you and the other 3 guys, you guys go out there. So they're in there for like 45 minutes, about an hour. They all come out, they're all like, oh. So I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be a real scream fest. Okay. So then they go, okay, we'll take you. No, Mike, you can stay out here. I'm like, oh boy, now I'm really worried because I've done things like, some uncredited stuff like The Mists of Avalon. That thing, it was like a mini series, and what happened was in that one, Bob Pappenbrook and I, we really worked great together. God rest his soul. He's a great guy. And he and I have big voices, big chops. We can die all day long. So they bring us in. They've already been doing this thing for about a week and a half. And they bring us in on the last day. And there's all these guys sitting there that are English and stuff. And they haven't, they play, okay, here, let's take a listen for this dying react. You see a guy getting stabbed with a big broadsword. And you hear the dub they did was, and I'm like, what? And Bob and I look at each other and we're like, are they serious? I guess that's why all these guys, when they came in there, they're sitting like this, they're looking down and stuff. We're like, oh, I get it. These guys couldn't handle it, so now they brought in the heavy hitters to finish, right? And so Bob and I go, just fucking roll it. And all these guys sit there for about 2 hours. We're, boy, yeah, no. We're taking all the hits and doing it, we're knocking it out of the park. So anyway, long story short, on the Kill Bill story, what happened was those 3 guys go in, they get all screamed out, they come out, and I'm like, oh crap. This is gonna be one of those ones where, I've actually had cues where it's a vampire, they're on fire, and they get burned for like a minute. I mean, literally. And when you're having to scream like that for a minute, when somebody's on fire, it's not, it's gone. Go ahead. What's next?
Well, this was the Magnificat Unico.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that character. Sure. Yeah. And I gave him a voice kind of like almost a little bit of, yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Did Richard talk about Sergeant Schnauzer?
No.
That was one that we did. It was a feature-length movie. And there was another great voice actor that he passed away, and he was very talented. It was Jeff Winkless. Jeff played Ollie to my Ollie Ox to my Jack Turtleson, and he played one of the lead roles in this film that Richard directed. I believe it was from Hungary or Romania. And it was a feature-length movie all about dogs and stuff. It was called Sergeant Schnauzer or Captain Schnauzer. And he used all his wonderful friends. Richard was really good about that. He would always you had to be good. I mean, he wasn't just going to use his friends off the street, but I mean, once you got in good with Richard, he'd use you on everything. And so we did that Sergeant Schnauzer, and it was really fun. I did like 2 or 3 different voices in that one. That's one you should check out if you can find it somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, Captain Schnauzer, Sergeant Schnauzer, Captain Schnauzer, I think it is. It's a feature-length movie, and I play Deanie, he's on drugs. And then I did another character in that too. It's a very fun one to watch. We have David Thomas, not the guy that Honey I Shrunk the Kids, but doing He does Jacques Cousteau in it, and it's very, very funny. It's a real winner. I think Ellen's in it too. You gotta check it out. It's a winner. And then I just directed the Pororos. You know, I directed Pororo Treasure Island. And 5 years before that, I directed Pororo and the Cookie Kingdom, which Pororo is this huge thing in Asia that people here don't really know about. Pororo is he's a panda, isn't he? No, he's a little penguin. And Icon owns them, IKON. And they were offered, I don't exaggerate, but I swear to God, either like $5 or $8 billion to sell it, to sell the licensing on it. It's that big in Asia. And they said, no, we're going to hang on to it, which I think is crazy, man. Can you imagine? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But anyway, Michelle Ruff played the lead character in that. And it was a very talented cast, and I was happy to work with them. And Felice Sampler was in it, and she just recently passed. It's so funny. I'm talking about all these dead people, but you know, when you do this for 30 years, some people die. And it's a shame because it seems like all the people that I've mentioned, every one of them were so talented.
Right. Yeah.
So talented and so great to be around, you know. It wasn't a pain in the butt among all those people. And Felice was fantastic. I worked with her on everything. I worked with her on Digimon. Every chance I would have a chance to hire Felice Sampler, I would do it because she's a total pro. Showed up on time, always respectful, never brought her own life or what was going on with her into the booth. You know, some people, they're bringing their baggage with them, their emotional baggage. And that's not always a good thing, you know, because you're trying to get your work done and you're trying to meet deadlines. And most of the time, you know, they want it fast. So it's, she was one of the great ones. She really was. And I will always miss her and always respect the great work that she did. As Mimi, she was really good.
Did you know Lisa Michelson very well?
I did actually. You know, Greg Snegoff and her had just been married. I'm trying to think if I went to their wedding or not. I'm not sure I did, but I certainly knew them, and they were part of the dubbing community. And she was an absolutely wonderful singer, and it was so tragic. You know, she died in a car accident, and she was pregnant at the time. And after that, Greg was pretty much so torn up that he left the country. He left and moved to Italy and lived there for about 20 years. Found another lovely lady named Michaela that he's married to now. I think it's Michaela. Anyway, so he rebuilt his life, but it took him a long time. And Greg was really good. Greg was an excellent director and an excellent writer. So we're sorry that he left town for so long. And now he's back and he's doing work occasionally. I'm not sure if he's back here full time or not, but he is doing directing work again. And it's always a joy to be around Greg. But she was wonderful, and her life got cut short so early. I don't think she was even. She might have been 30, but
yeah,
I don't think so. That was a tough one.
I have been in touch too with I know that she's kind of MIA now, or like she hasn't done a lot of work now, but I'm guessing you were probably really close with Brienne Siddall too at one point.
Oh, Brienne and we did everything together. Brienne and I ran marathons together, went camping together, and she is just a wonderful person. She's a real nutball, but she has a really good heart, and but you never forget Brienne, boy. She's a 1 in a million. As Patamon. No, she wasn't Patamon. She was which Digimon was she? She was one of the kids. She was the kid with the helmet. Oh, Tommy. Yeah, she was Tommy. Yeah, she has great kid voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why she stopped working. I know that, well, I do know that, you know, and I went and saw her when this happened. She was in a terrible car accident.
Yeah.
Where she got rear-ended at about 60 miles an hour by the guy who was the vice president of Dole Foods. And so they went to court, and he had all the money in the world. So he lawyered up, and he fought her and fought her and fought her. And she really didn't get much out of it. It wrecked her neck. And I remember actually going to see her in the hospital and bringing her my homemade chicken soup because, you know, she's a very, very sweet person. And I'm sorry she's not working more. I don't know what's happened. It's just like she's kind of, you know, you can fall off the radar.
Right.
And it's a sad thing. You know, I feel like, honestly, the pandemic for me, it's hard to say this because so many people have had such a hard time with it, especially all my friends that work on camera. You know, when you work on camera, everything got shut down for a year and a half. You know, people had bills to pay, and it was really, really tough. Well, for us voiceover people, as you probably know, it was just a matter of, is your room set up? Are you ready to go? And we all said yes. And within a month, you know, we'd figured out what we needed to do to keep doing what we did.
Right.
So it's really been a watershed for me. I directed all those shows for Jamie Simone. I directed like 8 or 9 shows for him. And it's just, you know, and I feel bad for the people that weren't able to do that. But I was directing, let's see, I directed Gata High School, Jujutsu Kaisen, To Your Eternity, Monster Girl Doctor, My Hidden Dungeon That Only I Know Of, I'm Standing on 10,000 Lives, or I'm Standing on 1,000,000 Lives. I've killed 10,000 slimes, and you know, I worked on all those shows while that happened.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, you know, it was very nice. I like directing. I'm at the point where, yeah, I'd still like to do some serious voiceover stuff, and I do get chances now and then. I feel like more now it's just about directing and being around all this. You know, I really like being around the talent. I've been very lucky. I helped start people like Kari Waldgren, Michelle Ruff, Steve Bloom. You know, I worked with Fred Tatasciore when we first came to town. You know, it's just, and it's great to see people that you know and that are very talented. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, you know, Steve Staley, sure, all those people. I mean, we worked together a long time ago, and it's nice to see people that are talented use their talents and become well known for them. You know, you put together a body of work, and all those people have certainly done that. I figure I'll work till I'm 70. I'm in my early 60s now. I'd like to work that much longer directing and doing stuff, because being around talented people it's like, it's a tonic. It really is. It makes you feel good, you know. And I always try to encourage young talent. I really do. There's a new kid right now that I'm kind of helping out. His name is Jack Dillon, and he's really good. And he's, you know, I just feel like he's got it. And I'm always willing, you know, I want to encourage people, even if I don't think they got it, you know, unless if they're just hopeless, then I'm not going to encourage them, because then, you know, it just becomes so disappointing for them. I don't want that to happen. You know, it's a very tough business. It really is. Mm-hmm. And now people have so many opportunities, like I said, with all the access that there is now, with, you know, you can get a microphone, you can have Twisted Wave at home, you can be recording stuff pretty much on the cheap. Right. And then, you know, you audition for this thing where they hear 1,000 voices and they say you're the voice. And then you get in the studio, and if you don't have the proper vocal training, you know, if you're not editing it and being on top of it, you might not be able to produce the result that is required, or the level of quality that is required to really get used on the next project. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. And right now I'm doing a project that will remain nameless, and it better remain nameless. But I'm doing a project where it involves a transgender person, and Netflix decided they wanted this character voiced by a transgender person. And this person I have is absolutely fantastic. I've worked with them before, and I love working with them. Absolutely fantastic. Very, very talented person. And it was on one of the shows that I did at Studiopolis. So let's see if you can put 2 and 2 together and figure out what I'm talking about. Don't! Yes! Just keep it to yourself. But that person is super talented, and I love working with them. Super talented.
Well, I was just going to say on the topic of that, yeah, I mean, there's some I've interviewed a few people, a few trans voice actors like that are LA based too, and
Mhm.
I think yeah, like people like Casey Mangelo especially. I mean, they're amazing.
I'm using Casey on this project that I'm doing, but I'm actually referring to someone else that plays a larger part in this.
Oh, okay.
And does a great job. I mean, I worked with this person, did a whole series with them, and man, it's like I just want to use that person more and more. And what's really cool is when I make the mistake, because it's not always it's not always possible to remember the pronoun. You're so used to talking in a certain way, it's hard to change your speech pattern sometimes. And
Right.
it's not that I don't respect people. Believe me, I respect everyone. You don't really know what's going on with a person unless you're inside them. And you can't be inside everyone. So just try to respect people for where they are, because you know what do we all really want in life? We want to feel safe, we want to be secure, and we want to feel accepted. We want to, on some level, we want to feel loved. Everybody wants to be loved. They really do. Even people that might be hateful and act like they want to be shit on and stuff, they want the attention, right?
Mhm.
So they want to be loved. They really do. In some kind of odd way. That's what it's all about. And my whole thing, my philosophy of life is, uh, how do I want to be treated? And that's how I want to treat other people. And I like to be treated really nice. I'm bad that way. I want to, God, I'd like it if, and I do things like that for people. I do unexpected stuff, the random acts of kindness thing really works. I'll show up, if I know people have had a long day and they're there, I'll show up and I'll make some chili or something for them. And so then all of a sudden show up, they're like, oh yeah, oh, what? You brought us food? Yeah. Now you can just microwave it and you can keep going,
Mhm.
And, those kind of things, it shows a respect. It shows that, I care about you. I'm thinking about what's going on in your life. I'm just not just operating out of what's going on in mine.
Yeah.
And when you do that for people, and it's not manipulative, it's just that's the way I am, man. I want to be nice to people. It's amazing how many blessings you get back from that. How many nice things that happen to you from being nice. It's like tenfold. It really does. It's amazing. Because I've had a lot of nice things happen. It's like, why wouldn't you pay it forward?
Yeah.
There's enough negative energy in the world that we don't need anymore. I call it stinking thinking. We don't need any more stinking thinking. We need positive, and we need like acceptance and kindness. I saw a bumper sticker the other day. It's the greatest bumper sticker I saw this year. Make America kind again.
Yeah.
Instead of make America great, let's make America kind again. I think that's what it was. But I just thought, yeah, that's really true, because with this variant and all this isolation, and people they're really struggling. They really feel it. They really want to it's like this, want to be able to talk to people, want to be able to communicate and share ideas and share our feelings, and it's tough now. So I think being kind is a good thing.
Mhm.
So if there's if anyone asks you, you can tell them, oh yeah, Mike says being kind's all right. It's been fun hanging out with you, man.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up in about 6 months when I'm doing some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can talk about the stuff that I'm doing now.
Well, I mean, I guess you sort of already answered it, but my final question with people is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
I would say that I was, well, the thing is, I can't get around being who I am, which is, I'm loud, I'm funny, I try to be a mood elevator. When I walk into a room, I want to bring, not just the volume up, I want to bring the vibe up and make it positive. Throughout my life, I've kind of been what I would say is a mascot. And a mascot is the kind of person that comes into a room and he takes people out of their current situation and lifts them up or makes them laugh, entertains them in such a way that after you leave, they feel better for you being there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that's really what it is. It's like I hope that people always remember me as somebody that made them laugh, that they could feel relaxed around, they'd have a good time, and that's it. Just that I was kind of a funny guy that did a lot of voices and cracked a lot of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that that I was always kind and respectful, but I can't always say I was respectful because when you're doing comedy, man, you will go after it. If there's somebody in the room that wearing funny shoes, I might say, hey man, those shoes are funny. But I never meant it in malice or anything. So that's it. Yeah, I just want to be thought of as a guy that was a lot of fun to work with, always respectful of talent. And that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny how ever since I've been doing this, it's funny how many times like your name was just naturally brought up by people like Dina Sherman and Colleen O'Shaughnessy. And
oh yeah, Colleen. Whoa, it is a talented lady. Dina too, but Colleen, those boy voices she does. Wow. She's super. She is super. We had a lot of fun on Digimon. I think she was just coming into Digimon as I was finishing up, because then, Jeff and Bob took over directing that, and we moved on to the next project, not knowing it was going to be so huge. Wendy and we co-directed on Power Rangers and Digimon.
mm-hmm.
Then we each got our own things going. I think she started working more over at Bang Zoom as a director, and I, pretty much stayed with Saban and directed series for them. But it's been a fun ride, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I feel like a very, very lucky person, very blessed, and I'm very grateful to be able to do what I've done as long as I have, and I hope to do it for a few more years, because, like I said, it's just great to be around young talent. You see all these talented people. It's amazing. It's fun to be, to see them go by.
Right.
It's really good. Thanks, man. Thanks for the interview.
Yeah, thanks for
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was. I'll be sure to send it to you once I have it uploaded too.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Stay warm, man. My brother lives out in Minnesota, but he's going down to Arizona as of January. You better get out, man. It's cold as shit up there now, right?
Yeah, it's like below
Oh,
something.
Man, it's bad this year.
Yeah,
you guys got it early. You got it pretty hard. So I hope it warms up for you. All the best, man.
All right. See ya.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good winter. Bye.